And again, Phil, there are no Arlington firefighters have not responded to this, and that's because, as you tell me, your sources in Fort Worth police say the driver is refusing to come out. Not that he's incapacitated in some way from the crash, but that he's
Well,
refusing to come out.
I guess that could be a possibility, but police say that right now that they're not able to get that person, whoever's driving, to come out.
Mm-hmm. And this is the worst scenario, again, for police because they can only approach this truck, Phil, the cab of the truck. They can only approach it from the passenger side or the front. I'm sorry, from the driver's side or the front. The passenger side is flush up against the wall and you know, Phil, as the interstate goes underneath Cooper Street, the center wall there is high and tall, and the truck is right up against it, the passenger side. So police don't have the vantage of coming up on the backside of the person, if you will, who's in the cab. Part of the reason that they are painstakingly slow and careful and deliberate in their movements and actions now.
Yeah, they don't know what's going on inside the cab of that truck because they know that if he attempted to make a stop, the truck was speeding, a high rate of speed, they say, and it didn't stop for them, so they are going to be very cautious at this point, of course.
I count so far that I can see at least 6 officers with guns trained on the cab of that truck. There are 4 or 5 clustered together in the left flank area and in the middle of the freeway from the truck. But there's one officer perched underneath the Cooper Street overpass, about at the second column underneath the overpass. And he has a weapon. He's crouched down, not hiding behind anything, but he has a weapon and he's crouched down. And I believe that he is either trying to communicate verbally, to shout commands across the lanes of the interstate, or trying to put eyes on the person who's in the cab. Now, Phil, where are you coming from? And tell me about the traffic as you're headed into Arlington.
Yeah, well, right now we are on 20 because of the location we're funded, but we can't really tell an effect on the traffic at this point from where the truck is.
Okay, so now Phil Alvarado is dropped down to Interstate 20, and then he's going to try to move east and north through Arlington to get near this incident location. You are looking now. Can we see that camera? Are we seeing that? That is photographer Paul Beam. He has a ground vantage point now of the officers, and he is behind the officers by some great distance. He is on the opposite side of the interstate, simply pushing in on a slow zoom. He's across the westbound side of the interstate. So he is not putting these officers' position in jeopardy. That's the first thing I want to tell you, because if the driver is still in there, he or she has already seen where these officers are. We see 3 or 4 there. There you see 1, 2, 3, 5. There's quite a few, dozen officers or so in total now that we can see east to west along Interstate 30 there, trying to focus on what's happening or not happening in the cab of that rig, and perhaps maybe trying to establish some conversation or at least shout verbal commands to the person inside that cab. It is now 1:22. And we are in the middle of an intense standoff as you now look at a TxDOT camera to give us yet another angle. And you can see a squad cars with doors open. You can see the skid marks along the interstate, the litter from the load that spewed out of the vehicle. You almost can see that cross that's there along the interstate there as well, symbolic of another time, another moment of tragedy. I don't know how to explain this to you as we look at Sky 4. The traffic is going to be a mess. Not only will you have eastbound traffic from Interstate 30 dumping off into Arlington on side streets and thoroughfares, those will soon be clogged. You will have folk on the westbound side who will find themselves in traffic that's down to, zero on the interstate. And those folk are to 5-10 miles on the interstate, and many people on the service roads. There is a strange phenomena of our nature to know. So many people have gotten out of their vehicles and have lined the side of the street watching, which could always be dangerous if something untoward happens at the end of this and there's some blazing shootout. The fire now is not as it was when we first went on the air some 20 plus minutes ago. It has just about burned itself out now, but it was brilliant, bright orange flames lapping up, thick, black, billowing smoke, and now that has dissipated to a great degree. While the fire has calmed down, the tension has not, as you see officers, male and female officers, holding weapons, some with automatic weapons that hold scopes, as the officer that you're going to see right there. She is trained on that cab. And the best thing in the world now, nerves notwithstanding, would be for the person in the vehicle to come out and bring this thing to a peaceful resolution. Let's recap what we know. This all started around I-30 and Beach Street. It was the Fort Worth Traffic Enforcement Division. And if you've ever driven Interstate 30 through to Fort Worth from Dallas, you know it is not uncommon to see their traffic enforcement officers along I-30 in the middle of the day. It's good, smooth freeway. It's great freeway for high speeds, and they catch a lot of speeders going through there. Can you hand me my phone, please? Thank you. As we continue to watch this unfold. So Interstate 30 at Cooper again shut down. Police are warning against spectators. This is what I've been talking to you about. And now Fort Worth and Arlington police are saying the same things. It's very dangerous for spectators because no one knows how this script will write itself to its very end today. Traffic is going to be backed up for miles and miles of Texas. And whenever this is over, the unwind is going to take a massive amount of time. Right now, police want that area to be safe. The fire continues. It's slowly burning itself out. You can see a motorcycle officer on Cooper, the bridge, the Cooper Street overpass there over the interstate. You see squad cars there. That intersection is being shut down as well. Let's just look at it for a minute. There's a lot we still don't know. We don't know if this truck is stolen. We don't know if the driver had warrants. Maybe some kind of illegal substance. We don't know any of that, but we do know that the person behind the wheel made a conscious decision to run from the police when they tried to light him up. He or she made a decision to run from the police. He ran from the police, and in the running, Fort Worth police say that there have been several cars or some cars that have been hit. We've seen the evidence of some innocent drivers going down the interstate unaware, rammed by this vehicle. We saw one car that clearly had spun around and slammed into the median wall. The hood was up, the doors open, but hopefully the driver and or passengers in that vehicle were not hurt. Shocked, yes. Surprised, yes, but hopefully no serious injuries. We've not seen from our view, and we've been watching a couple of 3 cameras, Sky 4, the TxDOT camera, and Paul Bean's ground angle shot. As you can see, that's on the right-hand side of your screen. We're watching right now, Sky 4 to the left, Paul Beam on the ground, safely behind the officers, not compromising their position on the right of your screen. This person made the decision to run and not stop for whatever reasons in their mind. And some other folk, at least one other car we know was hit. We know there was damage done to parts of the interstate and fire. That fire has burned itself out mostly. There's just a little smoke left. As Sky 4 is showing us the strange emptiness of Interstate 30 eastbound in the middle of the day on a Friday because it's shut down. There you see the fire trucks in waiting, the paramedics in waiting, and additional police as you see where the interstate shut down. But look, here's a couple other cars that probably safe to say were somehow involved. And you see a truck, the black truck that's on rims. You see a gentleman standing there. And you see the SUV, the burgundy SUV. So that's, you see this pickup truck as well. I'm going to count that one. Let's include that one in our count. So at least 4 other cars that we know right now somehow affected, impacted by this 18-wheeler. Steve Eager is telling me that he thinks what was on fire at the back of the 18-wheeler was another car, Steve?
That looks like a car to me.
Wow.
Crushed into the cement wall.
A car crushed into the cement wall on fire. Let's hope not. Let's hope it was something that fell off the truck. But if so, let's hope whoever was in there got out. That's
Just watching your coverage.
Yeah. So there we see, now this is a different ground angle. Guys, I think these are police officers on the opposite side, nearest the fire, but it's hard to tell. I guess not. No, they're there. It's the same side. Same side. Same side. So it looks like that says Pesado Trucking. Pesado Trucking. We're looking to see where that is. Pesado Trucking. Because maybe their truck was stolen. Now these are, of course, information that we're getting and giving will change, but you can see the damage done to the interstate. Do you know how heavy? There's special equipment needed to move those cement barriers in place along the interstates. And there you see it broken like a toothpick. So imagine the force and energy behind the violent impact as that truck hit that and losing its load, skirting along the sidewall there before coming to rest kind of under Cooper Street where it goes over Interstate 30. And again, Steve Eager thought that was a car. I believe Steve Eager may be correct. Look at that. Whoa. Either that is a vehicle that was shoved up into the wall and caught fire. Oh my. That is a vehicle. I'm fairly certain. That's, yes. Oh my. We must hope those people got out. This is going to be more tragic than a car accident or several cars involved in an accident following a chase. It's 1:30, KDFW TV, Dallas, Fort Worth. I'm Sean Rabb. You're in the middle of the, right now, tense and dangerous end to what may be an horrific accident following a chase that began at I-30 and Beach Street in Fort Worth. So the truck has on its side Pesado Trucking, and what we're able to learn about this is based in Chicago, Illinois. Pesado Trucking, moving service companies in Chicago. It opened in 2013. And according to what we're able to find, doesn't have many employees, says 2 employees, family-owned business. Again, we wonder if this vehicle has been stolen. We have some folks now attempting to contact Pesado Trucking Company in Chicago to see what they can tell us about their vehicle that's now the subject of a standoff with Dallas police because of the person in the cab. This started again at Interstate 30 and Beach Street in Fort Worth. Traffic enforcement officers attempted to pull this truck over because of a rate of high speed. Driver did not stop. Chase ensued through East Fort Worth into Arlington, apparently hitting several cars, 4, 5, 6 cars along the way. It looks to us like there is a vehicle that was crushed up against the wall along interstate there, the embankment there near Cooper, and caught fire, along with some of what was on that truck, it looks like. Police officers are taking this very seriously. They have automatic weapons, they have rifles with scopes. They are focused in, trying to focus in on that cab. Sheets of copper. Sheets of copper were on the back of that 18-wheeler, that big rig. All right, let's go now back to the Fox 4 Newsline. Matt Zavatsky with MedStar. Hey, Matt, what can you tell us?
Hey, Sean, here's what we can tell you, is that starting about 30 minutes ago, we started receiving multiple calls for car crashes along Interstate 30, starting at about Beach Street, heading eastbound all the way out to the Arlington line. We had crashes at 30 and Beach, 30 and Oakland, and right now we're actually responding to another one at 30 and Cook Lane. All appear to be somewhat related. The good news is that at every one of those crashes, even though they involved multiple vehicles, none of those patients had injuries enough that warranted patients needing to go to the hospital.
Okay, so that's good news from your first report to us, Matt Zavatsky, that accidents that you have responded to or you are in progress responding to along Beach, along Oakland, along Cooks Lane, multiple accidents, multiple 911 calls, but none of those people have to date suffered extensive or serious injuries.
That is correct, and we are responding to one right now at the request of Fort Worth Police Department at 30 and Cooks to evaluate another patient out there. So this is still a very active situation.
Okay. Let me ask you another question. I don't know where you are or what you have heard, Matt. It looks to us like there is a car that has burned, that was crushed up against the embankment wall between the 18-wheeler and the embankment wall right at 30 and Cooper, and has burned. Have you heard anything at all about that?
We have not heard anything about that, and Sean, that is just outside of our service area. So that's probably going to be Arlington. We have had those multiple incidents on our side of the service area, and we're still working those as well. We can provide you with updates as we find out. Okay,
so Matt, help me now and help our viewers. I mostly work in Dallas, but you and I know each other. You stop at the Fort Worth city limit line. You do not work Arlington, is that right?
We do if requested by Arlington for mutual aid, but essentially Arlington Fire Department and American Medical Response to the Arlington side of I-30.
Okay, and you haven't transported anyone yet, Matt, that you're aware of?
We have not. We have evaluated multiple patients. None of them needed to be transported, so that's good news so far.
When you say multiple patients, do you have a number you're able to give us?
So far, what we're getting from our crews is between 8 and 12 patients in total.
8 and 12 patients in total so far, and that's from responding to multiple accidents around Beach and I-30 eastbound, Oakland and I-30 eastbound, and you are in progress responding to Cooks Lane at the current moment. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct, Sean.
Okay, but now, Matt, you're prepared for this type of massive response where you need to send multiple units and have multiple paramedics, in fact, train for these kinds of multiple casualty incidents along the interstate, don't you, sir?
We absolutely do, and that goes everything from the training for the field crews and the dispatch folks, and also to the field supervisors, and having resources like our ambulance bus so that if one of these cases, or even if more than one, had multiple patients, you could literally have a bus on scene that could transport up to 17 patients at one time.
Matt, very gracious for your time. Thank you, sir. May talk to you again before the day is over. Matt Zavatsky at MedStar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sean.
Our crews, our reporters and photographers on the street there in Arlington are working very hard. They have located a witness, and we want to go to the sound of that witness and see what they have to say about what they saw or heard. Let's see if we can listen and see now. I'm sorry?
I was eastbound on I-30, just past Fielder when traffic slowed down to about 10 to 20 miles an hour, all three lanes packed. I'm in the center lane eastbound, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a huge cloud of dust on the left-hand shoulder, and within a split second, a semi with a flatbed with some type of piping or equipment, something flat, went by on the left shoulder about at least 70 miles an hour, and I thought to myself, I can't even imagine in bumper-to-bumper traffic why anybody is zooming around that shoulder, on the shoulder, much less a semi, and then it was followed immediately by an Arlington PD car and then two Fort Worth PD SUVs, and then more came, but it looked like there was a high-speed chase going on that involved at least two police cars and this semi, and then within a few seconds up ahead, saw the black smoke start billowing, and then the traffic just about stopped. Police responded real quickly and moved us off the road right in front of a black pickup that looked like it might have been clipped. I was thinking, oh my God, somebody with that semi going that fast, if there was a chain collision of bumper-to-bumper traffic, that it would be a huge mess. And as soon as I saw the smoke, I was like, oh, that must be where, the result of the high-speed chase is that somebody had impacted someone else, and a huge chain of events like that. It's horrible to think about and to look at. I think the police response was quick, and they did a really efficient job of handling traffic coming up on a fire and all the lanes blocked and wreckage. They did a fantastic job. Arlington and Fort Worth PD were set up and cones and moving traffic real efficiently. The fire response wasn't even there yet, but they had done a wonderful job, I thought.
That is the recorded voice interview of witness Chris Mano. Our photographers are creatively thinking about how to get this news to us. And I bring in Steve Eager now. It's 1:40. Hi, Steve. Happy Friday.
Hi, Sean. Chris Mano is a good friend of Fox 4. He's a pilot of American Airlines. He does a lot of good stuff, advises us on airline stories, and now he's on the scene of breaking news.
Yes.
I'm looking at this, Sean. We've talked about it. I did find out from our assignment desk that he talked about Arlington PD being on it so quickly. Chris did. Mm-hmm. Our assignment desk says there was an accident. I don't know, maybe you've already reported that. There was an accident already, some kind of accident out there, and this truck ran into that accident at some point. There's obviously other extenuating accidents as a result of it, but there was an accident out there, and this truck ran right into one of that accident.
Which makes sense because when J.R. Nichols, our assignment desk manager, was first looking at this, he was going, there are two fires.
Right.
So there was one accident, perhaps already a fire, when the truck came up on it and the officers coming up behind it.
And so as you look at that, it's clearly a crushed car up against the walls, very sadly. But maybe that was an accident that happened early and they got out.
Yes.
Maybe.
And maybe because of that accident, the 18-wheeler didn't make it to Dallas.
Right. I'm trying to figure out from the track, so did the trailer go up on the side rail, do you think? Or because I'm not sure why it's laying so much rubber.
Yeah,
and then it goes up on the rail.
Well, remember what Chris told us? Came on the left shoulder. So left shoulder, and now he's losing
banged
control.
Into the cement.
He hits the barrier here
on the inside.
You can see where it's been moved here, and that's where the skid marks start. He's traveling at a high rate of speed, and maybe he's losing control, or maybe the load is shifting.
Right.
And I think it
mows out that wall.
Yeah, mows out that wall, and comes to a stop.
And pins that one car right against the wall.
Fort Worth Police Department's Mark Bavero is on the phone with us now. Mark, what can you tell us about this chain of events and where we are right now? Let's start with where we are right now with what we see your officers and Arlington officers doing.
Okay, what is the making sure that we're being driven by what we believe is a single accident of female, and it did come to stop around the 30 and Cooper area in Arlington. What we have is 3 that's on fire, the accident on fire. We do have and Arlington police that have covered the fact that we don't know what the intentions of the occupant are.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, Mark, we can't.
We're gonna hang up, and I'm gonna have the producers call you back. We do not have a good connection, but we think Steve Eager and I think we heard you say a female driver.
That's from what we understand. A female occupant.
Yeah, I can't. We're gonna have to call you back.
Right.
Female occupant or female driver?
Female occupant. I heard that. My question was female driver. He
Right.
said, from what we understand, a female occupant.
So let's get him hooked back up as quickly as we can.
So the producers are getting him back on the line, and you guys know how cell phones are, and especially in that area right now. So you understand the distortion on the phone.
And here's the problem with that car that appears to be up against the wall. That would be in an area exposed, and so nobody could go up to that car, right? The way the officers are, guns out, that car is just too close to the action. They couldn't, if there was somebody in there.
Look, the SWAT vehicle is moving up now.
Use that, okay.
And we've had officers perched as